It's another episode of the Next Fix podcast today. We've got Dr. Debi Silber, and she is a professional in the space, but with a unique and different approach that I'm used to hearing about. So I'm very excited to hear about her work and what she's been doing to help people in recovery journeys and outside of them, and maybe some different ways of looking at recovery in different areas of our life. And so, Dr. Debi, such a pleasure to have you on. I appreciate you. How are you living today?
Everything's great. Thank you so much. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, we're gonna rock this, and as I had mentioned earlier, there's typically a genesis. There's some kind of a catalyst in a person's life to get into some of the work that you're doing with the people that need your help. So I want to know what that looks like. What was the reason for you kind of taking this path?
You don't think I just like the topic of betrayal?
The topic. You well, I gotta be honest. I don't feel that I've thought a whole lot about betrayal specifically, and that's why
Yeah.
I'm so intrigued. But I want to know about you first. I want to know, like, what did it look like in your life that maybe you either knew it was off when it happened, or maybe
Mhm.
you feel now that it's the
Yeah.
reason why you do what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So I'm in business 34 years, health, mindset, personal development. I had a really painful betrayal from my family, and I did all the things, thought I did everything I needed to do to heal from that. And then it happened a few years later. This time it was my husband. Anybody who's been through it, you're shocked, blindsided, devastated. So that was the deal breaker. Got him out of the house and looked at the two experiences thinking what's similar to these two. Me, but what else? And I realized I never really took my own needs seriously. Boundaries were always getting crossed. And I'm one of those people that believes if nothing changes, nothing changes. And I would always go to books or courses or mentors when I was struggling to heal from something or move through something, but there wasn't anything. And this was so big that I just felt I had to learn it so big. So I had 4 kids, 6 dogs, a thriving business, and I found myself enrolling in a PhD program. I mean, I didn't know how I was going to manage the time. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I was 50 years old. I hadn't been in school in decades, but it was just I was being pulled. And so I entered into this program, and it was really to help myself heal because I needed to be there for my kids and my clients. But I remember going through it saying, I have no idea how I'm going to heal from this. But if I do, I'm taking everybody with me. It was a knowing.
Sure.
So
Now, when you say real
yeah.
quickly, sorry to interrupt, but when you say this,
Mhm.
did you know what this was at the time? Like when you
I didn't
started?
know,
Okay.
and actually my husband was the one who told our kids. So if anything is gonna have you wake up and realize what's important, it's losing the very people that are the most important to you. And so then, of course, for me, I'm a highly sensitive empath. Integrity is my highest value. So it's like, what do you do with that? I mean, here it was, first it was my family, then it was him. I'm like, either I'm the poster child for this or it's coming my way because I'm meant to do something really big with it.
Okay. Well, the latter is the much more healthier approach. But in that, did you feel like you were the problem? I mean,
Well, the nature of betrayal is because, it happens to us, we think it's about us. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions. And I have worked with so many betrayers, and they always say it had nothing to do with my partner. It was someone else's lack, someone else's unhealed trauma, someone else's scarcity, whatever sense of entitlement, whatever it was. And let's just be really clear. This is a choice. It's not a mistake. It's a choice. And it's a really painful one, and it's a really bad one. But I think, and then, I want to definitely get to the study and what we learned. But I think I've just trained myself where over the years, there are 2 paths. There's the shoulda, coulda, woulda, or there's what if I try and it just doesn't work out. And I have trained myself that I don't know why the shoulda, coulda, woulda is so much worse for me, so much worse. Like I can't even live with that one. Then if I try it and it doesn't work out, okay, at least I tried. Because as I was going through this program and doing this study, I'm like, who am I to talk about this? And what do I know? And, all the things and all the questioning. But when the study led to 3 groundbreaking discoveries, which changed everything we know about betrayal, how long it takes to heal, like the proven predictable way to move through it. I'm like, okay, no, you know what? Get out of the way. It's not about you. And, the best coaches have coaches, right? So I remember, I'll never forget this. I was in a group and everybody was on their Zoom. We're all on our little Zoom screens and everybody's going around, what's new with you? What's new with you? What's new with you? And I'm like preparing what I'm going to say, and I'm thinking I'm going to say about the study, like all we learned and all this stuff. And I get to it. It's my turn. And my coach is like, Debbie, what's going on? And so I'm like, oh, the study proved this and this and that. And he points his finger at me and he says, stop hiding behind your effing study already. And I was like, no. Yeah. And I realized, I'm so, I'm private, right? I don't, and this is the most gossiped topic, but it's truly about helping people. And so I got out of the way and the certification programs, all the books, the TEDx talks, the national
Right.
holiday that I created, like it's all happened ever since.
Nice. That's a lot, by the way. And so when you are kind of going through this catastrophe in your life, you dive into the PhD program. Now, you mentioned the study, the research. I guess, are you saying that like through being in school and enrolled, you get your doctorate and all that, like, is that what, I don't know, forgive me for being ignorant, right? Like, is that what, was that the thesis, right? That you did? Okay. Was that like, what was, the outcome of that
Yeah,
pursuit?
sure. Yes, I'll tell you. So the PhD was in transpersonal psychology, the psychology of transformation and human potential. Because I don't want to learn like what causes the pain and the problem and everything else. It's like, tell me what to do with it. So I was very attracted to that. But the study was on betrayal, because I did it selfishly to help. Let me learn something that I could use to help myself heal, to help my clients and everything else. I had no idea it was going to lead to those discoveries. And briefly, and I'm happy to go into each one. The first one was that betrayal is in fact a different type of trauma that needs a different way to heal. And so many people, they're like, well, trauma is trauma. But that's why people are walking around with unhealed betrayals for decades, because they're treating it like other traumas and it's different. Like, let's
Can
say
you
go
just
ahead.
real quickly, can you just differentiate? Because in my mind, I'm having trouble, like the word betrayal clearly is
Mhm.
chosen specifically, but I guess,
Yeah.
yeah, the differentiation.
Yeah.
What would be the real differentiation
Right. Like
between the
with
2?
other traumas, let's say you lose someone you love, so death of a loved one, disease, natural disaster, whatever it is, right? There's shattering of life as you've known it. With betrayal, not only is there a shattering of life as you've known it, there's a shattering of the you that you knew as well. The entire self is shattered. Rejection, abandonment, belonging, confidence, worthiness, trust, right? Like when you look back on someone you lost, you grieve, you're sad, you mourn the lost, life will never be the same. But you look back with love and fondness, you remember all the beautiful times. You don't look back and question that entire relationship. You don't question your ability to trust. You don't question your sanity. Betrayal rewrites your whole past, right? So the whole shattering of the self and of what you thought you knew and of your ability to trust. Like, think about how terrifying this is. When something happens on the outside, like let's take a natural disaster. Of course, it's terrible. It's awful, right? But you're intact because the people that you go to for support can help you through it to whatever extent. You run to those people. They gave you a sense of safety and security. When it's betrayal, there's first of all, the person you're running to is the person who's causing the harm.
Right.
The one
Right.
who gave you a sense of safety and security is the one who takes it away. And even worse, and I write all about it. I mean, my book is in pre-release as of today, Unstuck. And I
Nice.
talk all about it because, like, let's say trust. What well-meaning counselors, coaches, therapists, they say, oh, you know what? Trust was shattered. Let's start with a low stakes situation in learning to trust again. Sounds reasonable, but here's one of the biggest problems. And again, I did the research. What happens is we have our own system of determining who's trustworthy, right? So whatever our system says, if they do 50 things, 100 things consistently over time, we can say, you know what? I trust that person. And then that person betrays us. That's terrifying because now we look at it saying, my whole measurement system is fundamentally flawed. I can't trust myself. I can't trust. How do I know if anybody's trustworthy? My whole system is broken, you see?
Right, right,
So that betrayal is a different type of trauma that needs a different way to heal. That was the first discovery.
right. Okay.
Does that make
Is
sense?
is betrayal always malicious? Is it
You
always
know, well, I define it as the breaking of a spoken or unspoken rule. And every relationship has them. And the way it works is the more we trust, the more we depend on that person, the deeper the betrayal. So a child who's totally dependent on their parent, the parent does something awful, that's going to have a different impact than, let's say, your best friend sharing your secret, right? Coworker taking credit for your idea. Still betrayals, different level of cleanup. But think about it. Like, look at where we are in the world right now. There's this collective betrayal. We're feeling betrayed by all of the institutions, the structures, like all of it. And it's a lot to manage. But the ones that affect us the most are the ones when the heart's involved. The second discovery, there's actually a collection of symptoms, physical, mental, and emotional, so common to betrayal. It's now known as post-betrayal syndrome. We've tested over 100,000 people to see to what extent they're still struggling. The first thing about that, we've all heard time heals all wounds. Well, I have the proof that when it comes to betrayal, that's not true. There's a question on the assessment that says, is there anything else you'd like to share? And people write things like, my betrayal happened 35 years ago. I'm never trusting again. My betrayal happened 10 years ago, feels like it happened yesterday. So we know we can't count on time. We can't count on a new relationship to heal it. Healing needs to be deliberate and intentional. You know, as far as addiction and things like that, that is so huge in betrayal. And I definitely want to get to it, but I'm happy to share some of the stats so you can see what goes on.
Yeah.
Okay, because that would have been an awkward moment if you said no.
Right, right. But so these are stats from your research, right? Okay.
From over 100,000 people who've taken the post-betrayal syndrome assessment, men, women, just about every country's represented. Ready? I want you to hear these sets. I want you to hear the symptoms, but more importantly, I want you to hear these numbers, okay? Out of over 100,000 people, 78% of them constantly revisit their experience. 81% feel a loss of personal power. Think of the decisions you make when you don't have a sense of personal power. Think of what you do, what you don't do, what you tolerate, what you accept, right? 80% are hypervigilant. You're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. 94% deal with painful triggers. Some of the most common physical symptoms, 71% have low energy, 68% have sleep issues, 63% have extreme fatigue. So you sleep all night, you wake up, you're exhausted, your adrenals have tanked. 47% have weight changes. So in the beginning, maybe you can't hold food down. Later on, you're emotionally eating. Very common. 35% have a digestive issue of some kind. Crohn's, IBS, diverticulitis, you name it. Some of the most common mental symptoms, 78% are overwhelmed. 70% are walking around in a state of disbelief. 62% can't concentrate. So just take that. Let's just stop there. You can't concentrate. Let's say you have a gut issue. You're exhausted. You still have to go to work. You still have to raise your kids. You still have to deal with elderly parents, whatever you have going on, right? That's not even
Right.
emotionally. Emotionally, 88% experience extreme sadness. 3% are very angry. I mean, I can go on and on. I'll just read a few more. This one killed me. 84% have an inability to trust. If you don't trust, what kind of life is that? Right?
Right.
7% prevent themselves from forming deep relationships because they're afraid of being hurt again. Big wall goes up, right? They're keeping the bad ones out, but they're keeping out the good ones too. 90% want to move forward, but they don't know how. The craziest part about that is you didn't hear me say 20%, 30%. These numbers
No,
are
it's three
super high.
quarters, pretty much the whole way through. Three quarters of
Yeah.
100,000 people, which is just staggering. To think about that many people, the majority, strong
And
majority.
the craziest thing, it's not even necessarily from a recent betrayal. This could be just what's left unhealed from
What
the
about
partner.
that? What is the common or the most typical range? Did you see any kind of you know, stats as far as that's concerned? Like what's the most common reported betrayal? Is it
It's
5 years?
family and partner. Those are the ones that get us the most. But what's crazy about just to wrap up those stats, imagine that's something that could have happened 10, 20, 30, 40 plus years ago. And here you are with symptoms today because of what's left unhealed. The good news is you could heal from all of it. And that was the third discovery. Happy to share that. But just before we get there, I just want to share one more thing. Think about this too. When it comes to other traumas, so one of the other things with betrayal is, think about it. Your world just completely imploded, and here you are. You're supposed to work. You're supposed to take care of your elderly parents. You're supposed to take care of your kids. Like, that doesn't stop. Like with other traumas, people rally and support, but so often, like the betrayed struggles and suffers in silence because they're so humiliated and embarrassed and ashamed. Very often, they're also covering for the betrayer. The betrayer is so loved by the community or by the friends or by the family. So now here you are, you've just had such a significant trauma to your life, and you are handling it all alone, thinking it has anything to do with you, and
Yeah.
life hasn't stopped. Like, this is another reason why betrayal is such a unique trauma. Like I said, the good news is you could heal from all of it. That was the third discovery. And
Right.
happy to get into that one if you want to hear it.
Yeah, no, I do want to hear it. And I appreciate earlier how you had mentioned that you're kind of future oriented, right? Because I've kind of leaned away. I most certainly have trauma in my life. It's just not a whole lot that I feel I could do about it. So I do always appreciate leaning into a better existence and however that may look. And that's why I truly appreciate number three, right? Is that you can heal. And I suspect that you've figured out ways to get that done. So what does that look
Yeah, this for me was the most exciting. And what we learned was, while we can stay stuck for years, decades, a lifetime, and most people do, but if we're going to fully heal, and by fully heal, I mean symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome, like I just shared, to this completely rebuilt place where we've rebuilt our lives and ourselves, we will move through 5 proven, predictable stages. And what's even more exciting about that is we know what happens physically, mentally, and emotionally at every stage, and we know what we need to do in order to move from one stage to the next. Healing is entirely predictable. And happy to share the stages if you want,
Yeah. So when you say healing is predictable, how do you
Mhm.
mean by that?
I mean, from broken, we're never broken, bent, broken to completely transformed, predictable, all
Got it.
of it, all of
Okay.
it.
Now you
And
say predictable in the response at each stage, right? I suppose you've nailed it down. So go ahead. And
yeah,
what are the five? What are the five
yeah,
stages?
like we know what's going on in every stage. There's like a language to every stage where we have certain physical, mental, and emotional symptoms at every stage. So all we do in our certification program is teach coaches, healers, practitioners, therapists, this is what this stage looks like. So so you could use the most appropriate tools for that stage, because the challenge is very often someone betrayed sees a well-meaning coach, therapist, counselor, but they're not trained in betrayal. Very few people are. So these well-meaning coaches and therapists are just throwing stuff at the wall. They're, let's try this, let's try this. And very often they're like, I don't get it. It works with all my other clients. Or this is my most resistant client. Like, what's that about? Very often it's because they've been betrayed. They're not at the same starting place as someone who isn't. So when they understand the stages, then they look. It's so interesting. I just did a podcast with a therapist who, well-meaning, but what very often the person feels heard and validated and understood. And actually, it's a huge disservice for the betrayed because it's rooting them to one of the hardest places to move, right? So let me share the stages. You'll see what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and anyway, it's all in Unstuck. I put them all in here so everybody has every stage. Stage 1, this is before it happens. And if you can imagine 4 legs of a table, the 4 legs being physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, what I saw with everybody, me too, was a heavy lean on the physical and the mental thinking and doing, and kind of neglecting or ignoring the emotional and the spiritual. This is all about thinking and doing. We're on autopilot. We're busy, right? We're not scanning for betrayal. And when we think we're in a healthy, normal relationship, We're not looking for it, which is why it comes as such a surprise. Stage 2, shock, trauma, D-Day, discovery day. This is the scariest of all of the stages. And this is the breakdown of the body, the mind, the worldview. So right here, you've ignited the stress response. You are now headed for every single stress-related symptom, illness, condition, disease. Your mind is in such a state of chaos. You're like, what? What does this mean? What happened? And your whole worldview is shattered. That's your mental model, the rules that govern you, that prevent chaos. It's okay to trust this person. Don't go there. These are the rules. And in one earth-shattering moment, every rule is no longer. Like, the bottom has bottomed out on you, and a new bottom hasn't been formed yet. This is terrifying.
Yeah.
But think about it. Yeah, God.
Well, I was just curious,
Hmm.
and maybe I'll wait till you're finished with the 5 stages, and then I wanted to ask some, like, addict specific,
Yeah. You're going to see where this shows
scenarios.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's showing up in
so
the next
please
stage.
continue. Sorry, I
Yeah, no. You're going to see it right in this next stage. If the bottom were to bottom out on you, what would you do? You'd grab hold of anything or anyone in order to stay safe and stay alive. That's stage 3. Survival instincts emerge. This is the most practical out of all of the stages. If you can't help me, get out of my way. How do I survive this? Here's the trap, though. Stage 3, by far, hands down, is the number one place we get stuck. And here's why. Because it feels so much better than the shock and trauma we just came from, we think it's good. And because we don't know there's anywhere else to go, we plant roots here, we park here, and we're not supposed to. 4 things happen. But here's the thing too, and I want to get into those 4 things. We've created a functional life. We're making it work, but it's flat. We're keeping everybody at a distance. We don't have to learn how to trust again, you see? So the first thing is we start getting all those small self-benefits. We get to be right. We get our story. We get sympathy from everyone we tell our story to. And we're so unhappy, we look at that as good. So we plant deeper roots. And now the mind's like, maybe it's you. Maybe you deserved it. Maybe this, maybe that. So we believe that and entertain that thinking, and we plant deeper roots. And now because these are the thoughts we're thinking, this is the energy we put out. Well, like energy attracts like energy. So now we start attracting circumstances and even new relationships. Here's where repeat betrayals happen. To confirm this is where we belong. Here's where we join that lame support group, and you found your people. So you actually will sabotage your healing because you're like, but they get it. They understand. But meanwhile, they're keeping you stuck. Here's where we go to that well-meaning therapist in stage 2. It's beautiful. We feel heard and validated and understood, and we're actually solidifying and gluing our spot in stage 3. Here's where we're afraid to outgrow our betrayer, so we sabotage our healing. And because we're so unhappy, here's where the addiction comes in. Ready? We're so unhappy, but we know we have to get through our day, so we start using food, drugs, alcohol, work, TV to numb, avoid, distract. So we do it for a day, a week, a month. Now it's a habit, a year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And I can see someone 30 years out and say, that drinking you're doing, the drugs, whatever. Do you think that has anything to do with that betrayal? They look at me like I'm crazy. They say it happened 20, 30 years ago. All they did was put themselves in stage 3 and stay there. Does that make sense?
right, right. So it's inferior coping, right? So
That's all you're
but
doing.
the coping can stick around because, sometimes because nothing better has really been discovered yet, and the work has ceased, right? Because it's to your point, good enough. Like it's so much better than how it was. I'll take it. And so then the effort, it dwindles, and then the coping, even in an inferior method as maybe substance abuse or whatever it may be,
Yeah,
they'll just take it because there's no real thought of, well, there's anything better than this. It's just better than it was.
that's
So
it.
what is better than
Yeah.
stage 3, right? So
Exactly. Transformation doesn't even begin until stage 4. And here's the thing. We also get this reinforcement from the outside. Wow, you're doing great. Comparatively, compared to where we were. Yeah. And then here's one of the biggest mistakes coaches make, counselors make, therapists make. The person who's been betrayed, right? They get to this point where it's like, you know what? I'm fine. And so then the coach or counselor's like, okay, I guess the work is done. So they send them off. That person is stuck in stage 3. The coach or counselor doesn't even have the fulfillment of moving that person through the transformation because Fine. See, I know the language of the each stage. Fine means you've created a functional life, but there's so much more to it. You see? So when a coach or counselor knows they think they're fine, that's stage 3. Let me gently invite them and show them and educate them into what stage 4 could look like. It's a
Right.
game changer. Yeah.
Sure. And so you're talking about transformation in stage
Mhm.
4. Is that where it happens? Is this where
It
you're
starts.
applying? And so I guess what is that? How do you bridge that gap?
Yeah. So you when you're ready to leave stage 3, you're willing to grieve, mourn the loss, a bunch of things you need to do. You move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. So here's where you acknowledge, I can't undo what happened, but I control what I do with it. Just in that decision, you're starting to turn down the stress response. You're not healing just yet, but you just stopped the massive damage that was going on in stage 2 and stage 3, even if it's been going on for decades. Stage 4 feels like if you've ever moved. If you've ever moved to a new house, office, condo, whatever, your stuff's not there. It's not
Sure. Right. So so is 5 the butterfly? So is what
anything it once was. Only because it went through that does it get to be the butterfly. When you've settled into this new kind of mental space, you've made it cozy, you've made it kind of mentally home, you move into the 5th most beautiful stage, and this is healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. The body starts to heal. Self-love, self-care, eating well, exercise. You couldn't do that earlier. You didn't have the bandwidth. The mind is healing. We're making all kinds of new rules, new boundaries, and we have a whole new worldview based on everything we see so clearly now. And the 4 legs of that table, in the beginning, it was all about the physical and mental. We're solidly grounded by this point because we're focused on the emotional and the spiritual too. Those are the 5 stages.
Yeah. I do have a well, I wanna know, like, what has been, your experience, and you've got a ton of it, right? So, how has it been when you've come across a person with a substance abuse problem? Do you and of course, everybody's journey is unique. It doesn't always mean that betrayal is there. But I guess what are some of your experiences with addicts and alcoholics specific? Sure.
It is full on hard now, easy later. And by that, I mean every time a thought comes in your head, you want to look, first of all, you want to take all the parts you love and you leave behind everything that no longer serves. You are rebuilding and recreating yourself. So if a thought comes in your head where you're about to be like a boundary is going to get crossed and you're like, "Oh, no, 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 no." You say to yourself, the version of me that I'm creating, would he or she tolerate this? Would he or she stand for this? What do I want now? What am I ready for now? And it's uncomfortable because, people don't know how to react to you now, you see? But with the addiction, we miss all of this. And actually, there were 3 groups in the study who did not heal. And the ones who were numbing, avoiding, distracting, yes, it may have made the day a bit easier to get through. They didn't heal because they weren't willing to do the hard now, leading to the easy later.
And I got so maybe the flip side, the other side of that coin, right? Uh, how often have you worked with people where the betrayer is an addict or is an alcoholic? Right. So yeah,
And then what we see is over time, the betrayed just gets so beaten down because they blame it on the addiction. And I get it. And, that's the reason why it happened. But they're tolerant.
sure. Yeah. And I think that looking back, a lot of the people that maintained the boundaries were the people I was able to reconnect with the easiest, right? So they're the people that I was betraying that managed to maintain those boundaries successfully. Maybe not successfully, not entirely, but the ones that did a better job of keeping boundaries, those people were much easier for me to reconnect with. And
Yeah.
it's because they had preserved our relationship on their end. I wasn't ready to do it. So like,
Right. Right.
the people that did kind of set up those walls and kind of loved me from a distance later
Hmm.
on, once I got clean, it was easier to connect with them because the boundaries kind of did what
Yeah.
they're meant to do. And it's to preserve the health of the other person.
Yeah. And it
Well, but
seems
both people really.
Yeah, and it seems so harsh.
Oh, you're dead right. And that's the truth of it for sure. Well, so I mean, there's like this crazy long list of like what you have going on. I know that I know the book is top of mind. I mean, heck, you got it right there. But maybe if you can kinda like you had mentioned a TEDx talk, I watched some of that as well, like, there's a ton of really great content about you,
Thank you.
and the work that you've done, 35 years. Gosh, it's so impressive. I guess give if you could give everybody is there one place? Maybe everybody could go to one place, it'd probably be easier that way.
There is, yes. Everything is at the PBT is in post-betrayal. Our certification program is a fit. It's the number one betrayal recovery program for or certification for life, business, health, and leadership coaches. It's not that someone needs to become a betrayal recovery coach, but let's say you're a business coach and someone comes to you for confidence. Well, when you know that confidence was shattered in the betrayal, now you use those tools, help them heal that betrayal, and now the confidence is through the roof. Look at what a great business coach you can be then. So
I would imagine that many of these principles would spill over into other areas, not just betrayal, because I feel like some of the ideas, the approaches that you're mentioning, they could help. I think Unstuck is a great title because I feel like it doesn't necessarily only apply to betrayal. I mean, I feel like people could really, it could be advantageous for a lot of people to deal with a lot of things. I truly appreciate all this work. I mean, you're a blessing. All right. Okay. That's been another episode of the Next Fix. Thank you, Dr. Debi. And until the next one, guys. See you.